Wonderful. Well, I will call the meeting to order. This meeting of the Town Council Permanent Municipal Building Commission Ordinance Review Subcommittee. The time is 6:04 p.m. Please rise as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
under
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Lauren, would you please take the roll?
Chairman Ford.
Here.
Councillor Nagel.
Here.
Councillor Rada. Uh-oh. Kim, can you hear us?
Oh, Kim,
no, we can't hear you, Kim.
We see you, but the sound just isn't coming. No, can't hear you still. I can read lips a little bit, but probably not for the rest of the meeting. Maybe do you want to try calling in, Kim? With your phone? No? Okay. I'm just seeing here, making sure it's nothing on our end.
No, I'm checking it out too. I don't see anything. So usually, Kim, if you go to the bottom of the screen where it says audio and you click on that little caret, you just have to switch the microphone because sometimes it selects like the wrong one.
Sometimes you could have it set for council meetings where you have to turn them off.
Oh, yeah, could be. No, we can't hear you, Kim. When you go to that bottom left corner, what does it look like for you? Do you have a microphone there? Is it muted? Is it indicating that it's muted? No.
No, I mean, she's not muted on our screen, but it's just not picking up the mic.
If you click that caret, Kim, you may see a few different options for your mic. It may say, maybe play around with those options. Click if there are other mics available to you. Click one of the other ones, see what that does.
Or her volume may be down.
Darn. Do you want to try calling in? Maybe you can call Lauren or Dave. I'd offer myself, but my microphone doesn't work, so I'm using my phone myself. And then we can hear you, but separately.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
She said give her 1 minute, yeah.
Yeah, we'll just take a minute. Take your time.
In the meantime, there are no attendees, so you don't have any public comment at this moment.
Right. Right. Okay. We'll wait for her to come back on to get to the meeting minutes.
Yeah.
Folks, get outside today. It's beautiful out. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, but did you smell the smoke?
Yes.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, it was this afternoon. I had to pick Jack up for a doctor's appointment, and you could there's a brush fire in Massachusetts, and you could smell it.
Oh,
yeah,
that
it was
far away.
awful. Yeah.
Oh my God.
We're wondering if it was in town.
No, they said it's all the way in Mass.
Oh, that's awful. I've been so stuffy. I didn't smell anything. I'm sorry.
You can't smell anything, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see anything about that. Do we know how big the fire is or how long it's been going for?
I don't. I believe it's quite large though, but I don't think it's, as large as the one on Lamentation Mountain in Meriden and Berlin. But I don't know the duration so far.
Wow. I'm gonna check, see if Kim. She's still working on it. Oh, here we go. Hey, Kim.
She's muted.
No, we still.
How about now?
Yay!
Yeah, perfect. That's
I
it. Great.
was on my council laptop before. Why it wouldn't work, I have no idea, but I'm on my own now, so.
Perfect. Well, it did the trick. That's great. Wonderful. So the next thing we had was just to approve the prior meeting minutes. I don't believe we received meeting minutes, Lauren. You tell me if I'm wrong.
You know what? We didn't have any because we didn't have the meeting, so I'm sorry about that. That's just kind of
No,
a
that's all right.
placeholder I keep on all my agendas, but I should have taken it off.
That's all right. That's okay. That'll do it. No problem at all. We'll just skip right over that. So then we'll get right into the business. The first thing I'll just say before we get started, I just want to put in perspective for us. It's the current ordinance that is on the books. This is our first draft. This was our second draft. This was our third draft, and we are now on to our fourth draft. And I suspect draft number 5 is going to get fairly close to our solution. I just want to mention that because I know it's taken some time. I know it's taken a lot of patience, but I think we've done really good work with Lauren's help and as members of the committee to do this the right way and do our due diligence and make sure that we don't burden future councils with having to come back and do this again. So I think we've done good work, and I just want to thank folks for participating in it. Any other comments or questions or anything at all before we get started into our fourth draft?
Nope.
I know people are general public, those who are still aware of it are wondering what the heck happened to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say
Absolutely.
there is a Conservation Commission meeting at 7. I may have to go off a little bit early, depends on how long we go for this meeting. There's only one thing on their agenda, and that's the Kits Lane development. So I'm interested to see if they're actually going to meet on that. I'm not feeling well, so I'm going to just zoom in to that one as well. But if I could make it to that, I will. I've already let Gail know.
So
Sorry to hear that.
Right.
we all turned into pumpkins at 7 because there are only so many Zoom webinar licenses and there are so many town meetings tonight. So hopefully we can do some really thoughtful, thorough review of certain sections of this and then maybe look at the calendar, set something up for the beginning of December.
Agreed.
Moving
Sounds
right
good.
Sounds good. We will get right up to 7. So we'll jump in. Lauren,
Yep.
do we want to start right at the start in powers and duties?
Yeah, so I thought, Matt, let's just go through the comments and the changes and just kind of start resolving some of these comments that we have here on this draft. So the first one is
Right.
between the last draft and this one, you had moved the powers and duties back up to before the membership. And as long as we're okay with that, I'm going to delete your comment. Is everyone good with that?
It's fine with me.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
You did some great wordsmithing here, just kind of taking the old language and condensing it. So you'll see that there's an addition here that the commission shall oversee and supervise the development of preliminary plans, including architectural drawings and cost estimates. So we had that as like a separate bullet point, a separate caveat line item. And Matt put it back into this main paragraph and just kind of clarified some language there. So if we're good, we can accept that change.
Fine with me.
I've gone through it, so yes, this looks good to me.
Great.
Yeah, I've looked at it before earlier today somewhat too.
Great.
Great. Wonderful. This next one, if I could jump in, Lauren,
Yeah.
just very briefly about that $500,000 threshold. So this was a comment that I put some time back. And I know we ended up, that was actually before you and I met, Lauren, and we chatted about this a little bit more comprehensively. And this was in the context of us wanting to remove reference to major upkeep because of a few discussions we had over several meetings as a committee. So that was that. And the question was about if there is a monetary threshold that should exist subject to something else in this document, whether it's construction or renovation or demolition, et cetera. And so that's why that comment is there. It doesn't really, indicate that in the comment, but I just wanted to clarify that for my part, I think I wanted to kind of defer to your recommendation, Lauren, about that threshold, if you think it makes sense to include with reference to construction or renovation or demolition, or if you think removing it completely is the way to go. And again, that was something we added back in. That wasn't in there initially.
Right. I think because we've taken out really any reference to like repairs, maintenance, and I think upkeep would fall under that as well, I would agree that like we can remove that reference there. We did talk about a threshold about construction, major renovation, and we had used 250,000 in previous drafts, but I think it's really up to the three of you. 250 or 500 I think are appropriate thresholds when we talk about those major renovation, demolition, or build new.
Where do we, just a question now, even though I went through this, we don't have any dollar amount anywhere else in the ordinance.
Correct. So I'm just going down just to the definitions, just because that's where that's where the circular reference would go back to. We
Mhm.
did not put a threshold here. So if we put one in that first paragraph, I agree, we probably want to reference in both locations. We did take out in the current ordinance, there was that language about $25,000, which is incredibly low. We've had this conversation several times. And that has been removed from this current draft.
Great. So I think we will make a note when we get to the definition section, and probably not too long, 5 minutes maybe. We'll start wordsmithing 250,000. And then that last sentence in powers and duties, if everybody is all right with it, I think we'll remove that because it's in reference to major upkeep for our previous conversation.
I'm good with that.
We all good?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to resolve all these comments.
Doesn't that feel good?
It feels amazing. I'm happy to keep going, Matt. Are you good?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So we have an addition here, which, makes total sense. The commission shall recommend to the council for its approval and execution by the town manager, which is just codifying what we currently do. All the contracts with architects, engineers, building contractors, and others on behalf of the town of Newington. So, I now am worried that I didn't open the right version of this. No, I did. I just don't know why I didn't put this comment here. Yeah. I had a comment here and I must have deleted it by mistake. So we had this idea, this contracts with all of these different people in a different bullet point in one of the prior drafts. This is just kind of condensed for consistency. It reads better now. And also, like I said, the execution by the town manager, which is what you currently do. I had a comment, and I apologize that my comment got deleted, about electronic consultants and what exactly that was defined as, because that wasn't in any of the prior drafts. So I did have a comment, just a review for that.
Yeah, so your comment did appear later in the draft.
Oh,
if you were to go down, it's in there in the second reference to it. And I actually lifted that language from the third draft. in which it
Oh.
was there. It was my language, or excuse me, it was not my language. It was language that I listed. I'm going back to where that's referenced. Give me just a moment. I noted that here. Here it is. Yeah, on my third draft in powers and duties, I had listed electronic consultants. If that's not a thing, which could very well may not be, if it's on my language, but if your recommendation is to remove that because it doesn't mean much, then I'd trust that recommendation.
Yeah. So I'm sorry about that. I will remove that in both locations as long as everyone is okay with it.
Oh, fine.
All right. And is
Lauren,
everyone, oh, sorry.
Question for you, Lauren.
Yeah.
We also, under contractors, we have the owner's rep. Should that be specified, or does that just go under,
That would be more and others, because we only do an owner's rep on certain things. Other things we
Okay.
kind of GC ourselves. I think that would definitely be something that would be project specific and not typical to every single project. So that can fall
Okay.
under the and others.
okay, that's I'm starting to be on too many building committees this.
You and me both.
It's like, what's that language? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's fine. And that was, and I had the question later on when we list these again. So, okay, that makes perfect sense. Okay.
As far as the other items in that paragraph, are we good with those changes? They're really just, I think clarification language and pretty standard.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, me
Okay.
too.
Great. I'm just gonna resolve these and then I will fix the rest of that tomorrow. And I'll send out like a cleaner version of this by the end of the week.
Perfect. Thank you, Lauren. One thing, just before we completely move away from that section, it'll appear in some other listed them. It's just major construction. And in our definitions, we want to go through the pains, and we're going to do it now, to separate out major construction, major renovation, and demolition. But throughout the ordinance, in at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 areas, over a few different pages, we only reference major construction. And so I thought maybe lifting actually exactly what you're highlighting, design, construction, renovation, or demolition, that phrase, lifting that over and over again in those areas where just major construction appears, so that we can be a little more consistent about that. And I can share maybe I'll share it offline, but there are several sections where that is. And I have it listed.
Okay. Right.
And I just add there in your design, construction, renovation, or demolition. So we include that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so now we get into the definitions. So between prior drafts and this current draft, and I think Matt makes the comment up here, like cleaned up the language throughout for consistency, and it's very much cleaned up compared to what's currently in the ordinance, what we've kind of been floating back and forth through your other meetings. I entertain, you guys having any conversation that you want to have about these definitions, but just from a staff perspective, I think this is really helpful just to clarify and kind of streamline all those different definitions that are in the current.
My only question is under number 2, major construction. I'm suggesting we delete building renovation because then we have number 3 is major renovation. Is it a little confounding to have building renovation and then major renovation as another?
Yep.
I agree. I'll just say the 3, the language that's listed there for items 2, 3, and 4 I literally just took the chunk of language that was overall language for all three of those and split it in thirds. That's all I did.
Yeah,
So it hasn't, I think we can take the time to do that now, but I think that's the start of that, removing that renovation.
okay.
So do you have kind of an offhand definition for each of these that we can take a look at, Lauren? In particular, items 2 and 3, it wasn't entirely clear how they were separate in the obviously we know like inherently how they're separate, and I think that starts to get at it, but should we clarify that a bit more?
So I think the major renovation on the draft you had sent over to me, Matt, was actually blank, and so I had moved this down here.
Oh,
I think these are honestly fine. I don't think you need to go too in depth. I think these are pretty high level, and it reads to me as, construction is we're building a new premises or we're building as new, which means a total gut, right? Additions to an existing structure. And then major renovation is that, the significant change to the layout or structure. And I added, I duplicated your language from the first one of a town or board of education building or structure.
What if
I
we
think,
add of an existing?
okay,
I mean,
Yeah.
less is always more for me. I mean, I
Yeah.
can sometimes get too wordy, but
yeah.
I mean, then there's no question as to what it is we're talking about.
yeah,
Is there a need for, I'm just noting that down. The inclusion of additions in major construction that will alter, in theory, the layout of an existing structure, which goes under major renovation. Should we remove additions? Just specify it's just build new and build as new and associated work.
yeah, yeah,
I know it's pretty much splitting hairs.
I
but just-
know, yeah. Significant
You good with
change.
that?
Yeah, because an addition really is a renovation.
Yep.
Do we want to get picky enough to define out a minor renovation or not?
I don't, Lauren, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we do, in part because those kinds of items won't fall under the purview of the commission. And so we don't want to define them as part of the ordinance. Am I
Exactly.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we talked about streamlining and making it really clear that this ordinance applies to projects of a certain level and not all things that go on in a facility.
Okay, want to make certain we were all clear.
Yeah.
That's great. You want to keep moving? How
Yeah.
do we feel about those? Yeah, I think we'll just keep wordsmithing those, but great.
Yeah.
We can keep moving.
I'm gonna resolve these for now, and then, we can look at this again when it's a little more clean.
Perfect.
So, major upkeep, that was one of the ones that was existing that we had a lot of philosophical conversations about and talking about the fact that that's not really the purview of this committee, so it's been removed. As long as everyone's still okay with that, I think that that's really appropriate and really helps staff be able to manage the day-to-day and then use this committee when it really is required. Okay. Major changes, that is the idea of not so much a major change to a building, but a major change within the scope of the project. So that is where there's some added language about, if there's going to be a monetary change as well, which I think is an appropriate thing to clarify.
We want to say that would require a change order. Although probably no one except those of us that have been on a building committee would know what that is.
I wouldn't say that, only because further down there's another item about change orders, and that is generally change orders are given to the committee. I think in my mind, major changes are things that would
Yeah.
have to come back to some type of legislative body to approve, whereas change orders are the day-to-day work of the building committee. So I wouldn't include it
You're
there.
right, you're right. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's usually included within the budget change orders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
So we have some just quick changes to the proposing body, which we've talked about, several times in the recent meetings. So as long as we're kind of still okay with this definition, sorry, for proposing body. And then also the statement of need, which I think Matt has a comment here, he lifted from the procedure section, which I think just kind of going back and making these circular references so that we're keeping consistent language and consistent terms throughout the document is really important. So if anyone has any thoughts, comments about these additions.
Good to go with those three things?
I only just nitpicky, anticipated expanded services, auxiliary public use. I would take the "and" out of there. Because we're continuing with that list of.
I gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just in
Okay.
that section, any areas where there are commas and they should be semicolons? Again, finicky, but we'll do that
I'll
too.
go back. Yeah, when after tonight, after we get through some of this, I will go back and kind of just grammatize the document for you guys.
Perfect. Thanks, Lauren.
And this will be one of those occasions where when we talked about, we talked about major construction project, but we got to talk about major construction, renovation, demolition, da 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 da. So I'll go back for that circular reference as well.
Great.
So now we get into everyone's
Sorry.
favorite conversation, which is the membership.
I'll just say to
yeah.
start kind of structurally, that first comment, and we can talk about this if folks prefer an alternative, that's great. But I just reorganized for clarity. If you'll recall, in our previous draft, there was a separate section that Lauren, you constructed for user group membership separately, and I integrated the user group membership back under the membership clause. So it didn't suggest, as I think it initially did, that those user group members were not also full members of the committee. And so that's the reason for the kind of reorganization here.
Yeah, we had,
I'm
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think this reads a lot better. I mean, I know we had broken it out and kind of made it way longer and more cumbersome, but also I think just in my brain, I think that helped us get to this point on the membership section, because I think those conversations and really needed to happen so that we could kind of clarify what everyone was thinking and make sure that we were including those 2 additional members that get to vote on specific projects.
I agree. This has been great work.
Yeah. So does anyone have any other comments on this section? Do you think we've kind of gone back and clarified what the intent was in those 2 additional members, but also, obviously we kept the specific language of the library because that's such a different relationship that the town has with that board?
The only other question I had or suggestion was on the first bullet, 5 permanent voting members. The second sub-bullet, 2 reviewed and recommended by each major party. And I know that, people should know their math, but it could sound like, and somebody might confound the fact that, whoa, this means that each major party can put up 2 people. No, it means one for each party to make 5.
I hear what you're saying.
2 and 3. So what I was suggesting was just 2 reviewed and recommended, and then maybe a comma or even in parentheses, 1 by each major party. with
Yep.
similar qualifications as shown above.
I agree
That's
with
a
you.
really, yeah, that's a good fix.
I think that's a great catch, Kim.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so if we're good with membership, let's go on to terms. So basically,
And
we're
this-
staggering terms, which is normal.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Matt, sorry.
Oh, no, that's right. I was just going to say this section wasn't in the previous draft. We just separated out again for clarity's sake, our own and the public's and staff.
Yeah, and everybody, yeah. Anyone see anything jump out here? I mean, I think it's, it's good to have a
Good to
stagger,
me. I would,
especially on
I would
something
say
like this.
the section after the expiration of each initial term, I would just indent that with a solid bullet.
This one?
I think the one right
Yeah.
above. Yeah, that one right there.
Yeah, so put it in line with the other solid, yeah, like that. And then I thought the same thing on the next page, no member shall,
Yeah.
another solid bullet.
Okay. And then this is a question I had when we get to this one. So this is current language, right? Like no member shall serve on any other elected or appointed board or committee. And then Matt, you had a comment here, somehow how do we basically keep this potential conflict of interest from occurring where you have people who are voting at the building committee level on something that then is going to go to them for their purview in their elected or appointed position. I think that's an important distinction to make. But I also know that we had conversations about whether or not this restriction of not allowing them to serve on anything else was going to prohibit us being able to fill this committee as has happened in the current iteration of the ordinance and committee.
That was one of the major points of when it came to the original construction of this committee. And I've said it before, it's to eliminate as much as possible, any conflict of interest, any specific interest over the general. So while I understand what you're saying, it was the specific things that was thought to be the best interest of all parties in town, and to make it the committee to seem more concerned about what's better for the town than what some people might think. One person is more concerned about one facility as opposed to another facility.
Yeah, I happen to think, and I think we've had a lot of robust discussion about this, good discussion. I'm partial for exactly the reason that you laid out, Dave, and going back, watching those initial meetings and reading the minutes when this was first established back in 2022 and the lead up to it, listening to the comments. I think the recusal clause that's right now highlighted in red gets to that point just the same. I actually think it gets to it more specifically. I think it's better language. The only question that I still have, and I think there would need to be an addition to that language highlighted in red, is and you could speak in metaphors, but I'll just call a spade a spade. We have members of our Board of Education who serve in an elected capacity, who also serve often on building committees, and I think with great success, and I don't think we should preclude them from serving as such. So if we can format the recusal clause that we have in such a way that doesn't preclude those elected Board of Education representatives from serving on committees as representatives on the committee, then I think I prefer the red highlighted language. Lauren, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I am really in favor of the red highlighted language, which is why I ported it over from a prior draft, because I just feel like I know how hard it is to staff buildings, any type of appointed commission or committee. And I would hate to have someone who's on a committee or commission that's completely unrelated to anything building and now they can't serve on this, although they have the expertise. And I'm going to make something up, and I know that this is, kind of picayune, but let's say you had somebody on the LGBTQ committee who also wanted, who is an architect, having that what's in blue prohibits that person from serving on this, and these two committees have nothing in common basically, and their jurisdiction would never overlap. So I think we have the potential of not being able to really fill this committee because people who would be on this committee may also want to serve in other ways in the town, and I just would hate to see us not be able to have a really good building committee, which is so important, because we don't have enough volunteers throughout the town that want to get into this kind of work.
I agree.
Concern I have though is if someone recuse, first of all, if someone's on the building committee, and they recuse themselves, that means that we're down at least one vote. And that may be a problem if you're looking for a quorum.
That was
And,
another thing that was discussed early on, previous to our looking at this, when it was created.
And I don't know. I mean, if it's somebody, for example, on the board that's a member of the Board of Ed, and they're on a building committee, I just think recusing themselves is almost antithetical for them being there. Because you're asking for their expertise as I don't know, as a teacher, as a whatever, as a vice
Part-time
principal.
plumber.
What?
Part-time plumber.
Yeah. And they have certain knowledge. They may not have construction knowledge, but they have other knowledge that's pertinent to the committee, which is why they're there. Then they have to recuse themselves. I know it's a sticky situation.
Yeah. If you guys are okay with it, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to jump in really quick. The Board of Education part aside, which I do think needs some workshopping. I think having a recusal clause here, to the point that you made, that a committee could find itself down, or a commission could find itself down a member. I think the recusal clause being here, it has a kind of chilling effect and disincentivizes putting somebody on the commission who you think would have to recuse themselves. So this is I don't know, perhaps a member of the zoning commission. That's what comes to mind initially, or someone on commission who, also works for the contractor that may be the architect for this project, that it would disincentivize that kind of appointment initially anyways. So I think the instances in which that would happen, where you'd find someone just down a member, I think it'd be somewhat rare.
Also, just, if you guys are okay with it, we can put a pin on this for tonight, and I will go to the town attorneys and just ask them for what they would recommend as language here. To abstain from voting, let's hypothetical, there's a building project and someone's on planning and zoning and on this commission. So the project's going to P&Z for an 824 review, like we did for the EOC purchase. Recusing yourself, abstaining from the vote at the P&Z level does not impact the total tally on that matter. So it's kind of just like on that particular item, the P&Z goes from 7 members to 6 members, and you need a majority of 6.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense? So
Okay.
it's
All right.
not, you're not really losing I get that concern, but you're not really losing a vote in theory. But this is obviously something that a town attorney probably deals with all the time. They probably have some really great standard language that they can present to us.
So just to play devil's advocate and use that same example, you've got somebody on TPZ. What happens if something goes to the TPZ? Then that person who in their role on TPZ would recuse themselves.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, they could vote to recommend the item from the building committee to the TPZ, but when it got to the TPZ level, they should recuse themselves from voting at that level.
Right.
So I'm just gonna leave myself a note here
Right.
to
Yeah, I
get the
think
attorney
that,
just to kind of finesse that for us.
Mm.
perfect.
But as long as
Great.
we're still,
Thank you,
we're
Lauren.
okay with this concept of, we'll take out the stuff in blue because we don't want to prohibit this. And then I'll get you some really good draft language.
Okay.
That's a, thank you, Lauren.
No problem. Vacancy. So any vacancy shall be reviewed and recommended by the relevant recommending authority, appointed by the town council, shall serve on the unexpired term of its predecessor. If any member shall cease to be a resident of the town, they shall cease to be a member of the commission. And I just had a note here, except in the case of that, like those like additional vested group members. And the only reason why I put that note there is because in the case of the library board of trustees, they have 2 corporate members that do not have to be residents of the town. So if the library, and I say this because this is current on Lark, if they put up as one of their 2 members, their corporate member, that person does not have to be a resident of the town. So we can't kick them off Lark because they're no longer a resident of the town because they're on the library board of trustees as a corporate member and it's allowed. So I don't know if we just want to just some caveat, except
Yeah.
except where otherwise allowed or something. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
I'll let Dave and Kim, who are members of the Board of Trustees, speak to that if they'd like, but yeah.
I'm wondering if it's more than 2, Kim, that are corporate members. But I know they're very sensitive about that. And I know some people in town are very sensitive about people making decisions about buildings in town not be included if they are not a resident of the town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm glad you clarified, Lauren, because I wasn't quite sure what this meant, but I think if there was an exceptional case, that it should be clarified that this is specifically in reference to the library board of trustees and their membership requirements, et cetera. I think it should be hyper specified, but I have, to Dave's point, I have that discomfort myself as a townie about having folks on a commission, don't reside in town making decisions of substance, for the town. So, I have a discomfort with that, but I also, want to defer to the library board of trustees and their wisdom and their special relationship with the town to make the decision that works best for them and their interests. So I don't know. I'll defer to David.
A little side mention concerning the library board. Only corporate members of the library board can be officers, and other members cannot be officers that are town members. So, but a corporate, so it's a sticking point even there.
Okay.
I think the library is really the special case.
Yeah.
It is.
So maybe Lauren, if you want to workshop some language that's specifically clear that we're talking about the library, and then we can just review that and see if it's something we're comfortable with.
Okay.
Should Kim and I talk to
Awesome.
library members or the library board chairman about this particular thing, or just wordsmith it, just throwing that idea out? I don't care one way or the other, just a thought.
Yeah, I think if you want to get a different perspective from them, that's totally welcome. I'll work on my side in the meantime, and you kind of work on yours and you have those conversations and we can both report back.
Yeah,
All right,
but then Dave,
I can call Diane, or you can, Kim, or we both can.
I'm fine if you want to go ahead and give her a call,
Sure.
because it is, I mean, this is such a special case.
Mhm.
And I can't think of
Mhm.
anything else. I'm trying to think if, does the fire department have anyone in the department that doesn't live in Newington? I don't think so.
Yes,
I
they
think they're
do.
all Newington. What
Well, the volunteers, there are some volunteers that don't live in
The vol-
Newington.
are there?
Yeah, not
Yeah,
commissioners.
that is-
Right.
Mhm.
well, teamwork makes the dream work. Yeah, we're definitely. We'll report back at the next meeting. I think
Yeah.
we have a good
Yeah.
game plan there.
Yeah. All right, this is that
So
section on ex officio membership. And Matt has clarified in a few cases throughout the document. We used to say like non-voting, and he changed it to but without power to vote, because in other places it did say but without power to vote. So, kind of just keeping consistent language throughout the document, which is something I feel like we've talked about several times. Outside of that, it's basically the same as what was in our prior draft.
the only potential change I had in this section, and this came up after this initial draft was, or this fourth draft was made, was the third bullet about, with reference to the fire department. Obviously, on a separate track, we've begun some discussion at council level about a fire department building committee, commission, review commission, etc. And that I realized that final section may not actually be applicable by the time at which this is passed. So maybe it's worth keeping in for the time being, because it is applicable as of now, but
Yeah.
maybe we put an asterisk there just for
I know it
our
did.
own.
I'm sorry. I know it did look like to some of us on the council that the fire commission, board of commission was looking to circumnavigate this whole permanent building commission that we had, and they sorted out that it wasn't, but it gave the
Yeah,
image of
no.
that of kind of doing a sidestep around the building commission we're trying to designate here, which seems unfair to me at any rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Lauren, you feel free to jump in, but it's my understanding, as Lauren clarified in the meeting at council, that because this ordinance is under review, that's why a different proposal is being considered for the fire department. But if this ordinance were not under review, that would not be the case. Then obviously we're working very
Correct.
quickly to get this done very quickly. But
Right.
that's the reason. It's intentional circumnavigation by any means.
Mm-hmm.
And this section here about the fire chief, chairperson of the Board of Fire Commissioners being ex officio, that is in the proposed temporary committee language as well. So that is consistent, that those people of authority within the fire umbrella would be ex officio, not voting members. They would have to put up other people for their voting members.
With that, just another question. We've got the Board of Ed, and we've got the fire department. What about the police department? Would there need to be some mention as well of them being ex officio members if we were going to be doing anything related to the public safety complex?
So that would be
I believe-
more advisory membership, I would think, because those are all staff, whereas these people up here, outside of the manager, who's the CEO, everyone else up here is not a town employee.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So
Okay.
going down to the advice, yeah.
I was curious. I just wanted to make sure that we were all clear on that.
So just to put a finer point, I think we'll leave again that third bullet point about the fire department in
Yeah.
for the time being, but we'll
Yeah.
just add an asterisk. We'll be cognizant of it for our own awareness.
Yeah. I'm just gonna put
And
a
we'll
note
continue that
here.
other.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Then we get down to advisory membership, which
Great.
is, I think, pretty straightforward. You know, they don't have the power to vote. They're there as advisory. These are all basically town staff. And then there was a removal here. There was an item that allowed in one of our drafts, I think, I don't even think it's in the current ordinance, just the proposing body to have an advisory membership. And, you know, that's been removed because I think they're getting to recommend 2 people as voting members. We can't have so many cooks in the kitchen.
Right.
That's right.
And I had a question early on about the building official, and I wasn't even, I was surprised that that was even an official title of anyone.
Yeah, that's Doug. Doug Jordan is our building official. That's his title. That's a statutory title.
And how different is that, or what does he do in that capacity other beyond what he does as fire marshal? I'm just curious.
Not DJ Jordan, different person. Doug Jordan.
Jordan. Oh, okay. All right. I
Yeah,
thought it
totally
was DJ.
different.
Like, why would DJ be a building official?
Nope. The building official is Doug, and so that's who does all of our permitting for any type of new build, renovation. That's who would be responsible for signing off, basically, on behalf of the town for any of these
Okay.
projects. Yeah.
Got it.
So as long as we're good with that removal, I'm gonna resolve these 3 items on the advisory membership. And then I just also want to say that it is 6:55.
Yeah.
So I'm just being cognizant of time. I don't think we're gonna get through the rest of this document, but I do think we made really good steps tonight but maybe we can just finish this page before we go?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds
Okay.
good. And then we'll talk about subsequent meetings.
Okay.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that was kind of a bogus recommendation on my part because the only change that I have here is I fixed a spelling error and Matt added in the beautiful little section symbol. So
Sounds good. Perfect. Great.
Okay.
Well, then that's a good place to trade.
right.
I believe I have them all on Zoom moving forward. I thought we were very efficient tonight. This went well.
This is
So
great.
we'll go through. We have 3 more pages left to go through on this draft. But I know, as you referenced, Dave, that we want to continue to move very quickly and be clear that this process is moving forward. So perhaps we can work offline. That's been pretty effective. I'll send out an email to our group, and maybe we can look at meeting within the week or within the week and a half, certainly within 2 weeks, so that we can keep moving forward and finish up this draft and start on a new one.
So I'm
Sounds good,
sorry
everybody?
to throw a wrench into that plan. I am on
Okay, that's all right.
vacation next week. It's my first
Oh, it's
vacation
Thanksgiving.
since I started.
No, I knew
So
that.
I am flying to the Carolinas and not available next week.
Well, that's all right. You enjoy your well-deserved vacation.
Yes, absolutely.
Forgetting it. So we should all be on vacation for Thanksgiving. That's good. Well, I'll send an email just the same, and within 2 weeks or however much longer we need to take, but as soon as we're able, we will get together our next meeting
Perfect.
for us and keep going. We're good to
Great.
go?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Great. Wonderful. Well, then I will do the obligatory parts of this if I can find my agenda. It's here somewhere. So we're going to move from section 5 to section 6, possible recommendation to the council. We're going to skip that. We're continuing the work. I'll now open up for public participation. Anybody on Zoom, just on Zoom tonight, that would like to speak, please raise your hand using the Zoom function.
We do
Anybody
actually
more?
have one attendee who's joined, and I'm, pretty recently. So if you'd like to raise your hand to speak, you can do so now. But they're not raising their hand, so I think we're good.
Great. Well, it's good to see we had an audience tonight. That's great.
Yeah.
And with any further questions, I'll move to adjourn the meeting. Or I'll need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? We're good to go. Great. Thank
Okay, moving on to
Good night,
conservation.
everyone.
Good night.
you.